The forest feeds on minds. Then humanity burns back.
The colony ship Endurance broke atmosphere over Vega Prime on a Tuesday. Commander Yael Orin wrote that detail in her log with the kind of dark humor only soldiers understood. Because the worst things in history always seem to happen on ordinary days. Vega Prime was beautiful. That was the cruelest part. Violet skies faded into amber at the horizon. Twin moons hung above silver-leafed forests that stretched for thousands of kilometers. The 4,200 colonists aboard pressed their faces to the viewport windows in wonder. Yael watched them and felt something tighten in her chest. Don't fall in love with it yet, she thought. Not yet. But she already had. The Vega Collective had granted humanity one settlement zone near the equatorial basin. The agreement was fragile. Written in 17 languages. Signed by diplomats who had never left Earth. The colonists were guests. They were to stay within approved boundaries. Harvest only approved resources. And never, under any circumstance, enter the hollow forests to the north. Nobody explained why. Yael asked 3 times. The collective ambassador, a tall 6-limbed creature the colonists privately called the Professor, gave the same answer every time. The hollow forests are not for your kind. They do not need to be explained. They only need to be obeyed. Yael logged the answer. Then she logged her unease. The first 6 months were almost perfect. The colonists built greenhouses, schools, a small amphitheater where children performed plays beneath alien moons. The soil responded to human seeds with suspicious generosity. Tomatoes grew larger than expected. Grain rose in weeks instead of months. Dr. Priya Solis, the colony's lead biologist, called it a miracle. Yael called it convenient. Priya laughed at that. They were becoming friends. And in Yael's experience, the people who made you laugh were the ones you ended up fighting for. For a while, Vega Prime felt like a promise. Then the children started disappearing. It started with Marin. 7 years old. Red-haired. Allergic to almost everything. She wandered away from the eastern playground on a Wednesday afternoon. 4 hours later, they found her standing at the edge of the hollow forests. She was staring into the dark spaces between the silver trunks. She could not explain what had pulled her there. She only said she had heard singing. But not with her ears. With something behind her eyes. 2 weeks later, 3 more children were found at the same forest boundary. Same blank stares. Same confusion. Same invisible pull. Yael reported it to the collective. The professor's response arrived 48 hours later. 5 words. This is what we feared. No explanation followed. No offer of help. Then, on the night of the 7th month, the forest moved. That was the only way Yael could describe it. The silver trees at the northern boundary did not fall. They did not crack. They leaned. The way tall people lean when listening to a conversation. The bioluminescent moss along their trunks pulsed in a slow rhythm. Priya studied the pattern. Then her face went pale. It matches the human heartbeat, she whispered. Then the sound began. Not singing. Not exactly. It was the feeling of a song without notes. A pressure behind the eyes. Inside the teeth. Between thought and sleep. Children woke screaming. Adults clutched their temples. 3 colonists walked north without shoes and had to be physically restrained. Yael declared lockdown. No one left the habitat blocks without escort. No child slept alone. Every boundary light was turned toward the forest. Then Yael opened a direct channel to the Vega Collective. When the professor appeared, she did not ask politely. Tell me what is in those forests. The professor stayed silent long enough for Yael to think the connection had failed. Then he spoke. We call them the resonants. They are not animals. They are not plants. They are the original consciousness of Vega Prime. The professor's voice was calm. That made it worse. They are older than our civilization. Older than measurement. They feed on cognitive frequency. Yael felt cold. On thoughts. On the vibration of a thinking mind, the professor said. And humans? The professor tilted his upper head. Your minds are loud. Extraordinarily loud. Like a fire in a room of candles. Yael understood then. The settlement zone had not been a gift. It had been a test. You assumed we would be eaten, she said. Pause. We assumed you would not last the year. Yael did not sleep that night. She sat at her desk with colony schematics, collective files, Priya's biology notes, and a mug of coffee that went cold. She read everything she could find about the resonance. She thought about 4,200 people. She thought about Marin. 7 years old. Red hair. A child who believed the universe was fundamentally interesting. Then Yael thought about one thing the professor had said. We learn to quiet ourselves. She called Priya at 3 in the morning. The resonance feed on cognitive frequency, Yael said. What generates cognitive frequency? Priya was half asleep. Then she was not. Neural activity. Emotional response. Concentrated attention. Yael leaned forward. What disrupts it? There was silence. Then Priya whispered, You're not seriously suggesting. What disrupts it, Priya? White noise. Desynchronized patterns. Random neural input. Then Priya stopped. Wait. Yael waited. The agricultural resonance emitters, Priya said. We use them to stimulate root growth. They pulse at delta frequency. Yael's voice sharpened. Can we invert them? Another silence. This one was electric. I'd have to recalibrate the entire array, Priya said. Point them outward instead of down. Create a desynchronization field around the settlement perimeter. Pause. It might work. It might also give everyone in the colony a headache for a month. Yael stood. Better a headache than being eaten. It took 11 days. They were the longest days Yael had ever lived. Engineers worked without rest. Priya recalibrated every agricultural emitter in the settlement. Field crews dug up buried nodes. Technicians rewired frequency cores. Parents held frightened children through sleepless nights. 3 more incidents happened at the forest edge. 2 adults lost consciousness and had to be sedated. Every night, the forest leaned closer. The moss pulsed like a second heartbeat laid over the colony's own. Yael walked the perimeter every hour. She watched the trees. And she refused to let them have her people. On the 12th day, Priya activated the inverted array. There was no explosion. No visible weapon. Just a pressure change in the air. A deep invisible shift that everyone felt inside their ears. The emitters pulsed outward. Blue-white waves passed through the colony perimeter and into the hollow forests. The leaning stopped. The heartbeat in the moss stuttered. Once. Twice. Then the synchronized glow broke apart into scattered, uneven light. The terrible pull behind the eyes vanished. Just like that. Like a radio signal moving out of range. For the first time in weeks, the colony was quiet. Truly quiet. The professor's message arrived 3 hours later. In 3,000 years, no species has survived their first year on Vega Prime. You survived 7 months. And solved in 11 days what took our civilization 4 centuries. We would like to understand how. Yael sat back and released a long breath. Outside, the violet sky turned amber at the edges. The twin moons rose. The silver tree stood still and beautiful. No longer leaning. Yael thought about Marin. About Priya laughing in the lab. About 4,200 people who had come to an alien world and refused to be consumed by it. She opened the channel. We're human, she said. We've never been good at being quiet. Then for the first time in weeks she smiled. But we've always been very good at being stubborn. She paused. Tell your people the candles learned how to burn back.